to Somerville for October 23rd, 2012. I'm Joe Lynch. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the Greatest Somerville Hot Set State Representative Tim Toomey, representing the 26th Middlesex District for many years. He currently is campaigning for re-election in November against a Republican and an unenrolled challenger. Appearing right here at SCAT TV last week in a debate with his two challengers, and scheduled for another debate a week from tonight in Cambridge, Tim Toomey also serves as a Cambridge City Councilor. It is my pleasure to welcome him back, State Representative Tim Toomey, and I think we had trouble with the volume. Did we? We did. Shaking the head. Let's try it again. Thank you, Rachel. Good evening and welcome to Greatest Somerville for October 23rd. I'm Joe Lynch. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the hot set State Representative Tim Toomey, representing the 26th Middlesex District for many years. He currently is campaigning for re-election in November against a Republican and an unenrolled challenger. Appearing right here at SCAT TV last week in a debate with his two challengers and scheduled for another debate in Cambridge a week from tonight, Tim Toomey also serves as a Cambridge City Councilor. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the hot set State Representative Tim Toomey of the 26th Middlesex District. We always run into snafus when a state rep comes on this show. I don't know what it is about you Beacon Hill guys, Tim, but welcome back.
Well, thanks, Joe, for having me. I really appreciate this.
No stranger to SCAT TV.
Not at all.
Twice in 1 week, Tim Toomey.
And actually, we did a visibility at Union Square on Saturday, so I was here on Saturday also. So.
How's that feel? Back on the campaign trail again in full force?
I'm always on the campaign trail, Joe. As you said, I'm also Cambridge City Council, so my campaigns really never end.
There's no rest.
So, but it's public service is my passion. I love the jobs, and I love the work that I do, and I cherish the opportunity to work with people, to meet people, and see how government can make government work for the people. And I think that's important. So campaigning, it's really not a campaign. It's a continuation of what I do on a daily basis. So I've always said, to me, every day is a campaign. And that's, you've got to keep grounded and keep focused, and I think that's
all right. Now this is a little different format than last week. I get to say what I want to say in this one.
You always do, Joe.
There you go. But you appeared with your two challengers last week. It was a full house in the big studio. All the supporters were there. The campaigns were there.
And an earthquake.
And an earthquake. So Tim and I were talking before the show, and none of us knew at the point where the earthquake hit that it was actually an earthquake. Right. Some people attributed it to the nerves of the candidates that were shaking the studio. Others considered it my bellowing into the microphone. But I was standing at the podium, and you guys were on a riser. Right. So you could feel it more than the folks who were sitting. And I felt it. And honestly, I thought to myself, finally, the Green Line has arrived in Union Square.
Construction has begun.
Construction has begun. But, yeah.
It's coming soon, though.
Right in the middle of your debate, the earthquake hits. Well, you guys from Cambridge really know how to bring it on here in Somerville. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. But you had all your supporters were here. Your challengers' supporters were here. The show has been playing on SCAT TV, so anybody who still hasn't caught that debate, you can watch it right here on SCAT TV, or you can go to any one of the websites. I know the Chronicle, the Journal, Somerville Patch, Boston Globe, a lot of them. The State House News Service certainly had fun with it. They picked it up and wrote stories about it. So
it was a great opportunity for the three of us to get together to talk about our ideas, what our vision is for the district in the coming years. So both challenges had their this vision or for what they felt should be the direction the district should take, and certainly I gave my opinion of it, and I think it was a frank exchange of ideas, and I think that's always good for people at home that might not have the opportunity to see us on the street to see where we stand on the issue. So that was a great opportunity.
And there were extremely thoughtful questions that came not only from, well, they came from both constituents. They came from the audience. They were kind of not filtered by the campaigns, but all three campaigns participated in choosing those questions. I had the privilege of reading the questions and asking the questions of the candidates. But let's go to the half hour. I'm not going to let you. You know this is called the hot set, Tim. In the last half hour is really where the debate between the three candidates took place. And one of your, with a lot of passion, you've got to watch the debate. I'm not going to give it away. But one of the candidates, one of your opponents, brought up the fact that you hold two jobs. Now, it should be no surprise for anybody in Somerville or Cambridge that you've represented for 20 years that you are a Cambridge City Councilor and you are a state rep for them on Beacon Hill.
It's impossible to hide from that fact, and I always say that wherever I go, that I'm a member of the Cambridge City Council and the state representative. And one of my challenges, it was like all of a sudden it was a big discovery that, oh my, that nobody knew, and kind of said, going door to door, that people didn't know that I held two jobs. And my response to that was, look, at the citizens of Somerville are well-educated, well-informed, they know who their local elected officials are, and I thought it was kind of, not insulting, but the people in Somerville, they're smart, and they know, they keep informed of the issues, and they know who the elected officials are, and they clearly know that I've been doing both jobs, and I think I've been doing the both jobs because I think bringing that local perspective to the State House is very, very important, those issues. So I think it's been very beneficial to both Somerville and Cambridge that I serve on both of those things. And again, as I said at the time, I'm not appointed or anointed to those positions. It's the residents that vote.
That's right. That's right.
And
that's why I found it a little hard to fathom why that was a central issue. And I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying that repeatedly during the debate, he kept referring to you as the state rep and the city councilor. And
he was trying to rattle.
He was trying to make a point that you have two titles, you collect two salaries, and as one of your retorts was, I also give 3 times as much to charity out of my salary. I mean, I won't give it away.
I don't like, talking about those things.
I won't give it away, but one of the best retorts of the night was when you said that, and one of your challengers came back and...
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll move on. But you were talking about the Green Line earlier.
Right.
And I know that it will all begin, for those of you who have heard me ad nauseum talking about the Green Line, it will all begin with the success of Cambridge moving Leechmere and the MBTA and DOT and everybody else moving Leechmere out of its current location to the other side of McGrath Highway, across the O'Brien. So for those of you who don't know, Representative Tim Toomey, it represents that part of Cambridge and has a vested interest.
From Leechmere, and they've been talking about extending the Green Line since they built it 70 years ago. And through the hard work of many, many residents of Somerville and Cambridge, the elected officials, the Somerville delegation, it is coming there. The mayor's been doing an outstanding job. He's secured a memorandum of understanding with the state for the funding commitment for that to take place. So the process is starting, and the station will be relocated, and hopefully, I think by the end of the year there will be a groundbreaking for that. So
you also stated that in the
and
debate.
Then extended all the ways up to Tufts. So. It is moving forward, but it's been a challenge. I mean, there's no question. Especially today, everyone knows the economic situation, not only local, state, and the federal level, but the money is key, and I think we have secured the money to go forward, and we have the commitment from the governor. As I said, the mayor has that memorandum of understanding. So, and it's a legal commitment from the state as mitigation for part of the Big Dig thing. So it's an obligation that the state owes to the city of Somerville, especially to help alleviate the environmental and health concerns of the residents. There's no mass transit that goes to the Somerville right now.
Well, other than Davis, but
Davis Square, but no, nothing for the Green Line to the majority of the city. So this will take a lot of cars off the street coming through the streets of Somerville. So it's a win-win situation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we all watched the mayor and the Board of Aldermen here in the city debate about the rezoning of Union Square, and part of that was tied into some land takings that the MBTA will be the beneficiary of that for the station here in Union Square. you know, and I didn't want to get into the minutia with you, but you are going to be our guy on Beacon Hill for that initial phase one.
Right.
Because you will represent not only the Lechmere constituency that will be moving Lechmere to the other side, but the Union Square constituency for phase one when it comes into Union Square.
Right. Both constituencies fully support the extension of the Green Line. And I'm glad you mentioned Davis Square. You know, with the Green Line coming and with the development of Assembly Square, these are in Union Square, these are great opportunities for the city, but they also pose many challenges. We saw what happened at Davis Square, the uptick in real estate values. So the challenge is going to be, as this progress moves forward between Assembly Square and Union Square, how do we keep the working class families to be able to remain, to afford, to live in the city? And certainly the generation of those families have built the city. Now, how do we make sure that they're able to stay? You know, through mitigation as these projects come through, for affordable housing, and for, most importantly, you know, as these jobs, especially the union jobs, are going to be taking place, that a certain percentage is going to some of the residents. I'm a big proponent of you know, hiring locals, and so I think that has to be part of as we move forward to make sure that that happens. So,
yeah, I mean,
people who built the city want to make sure that they stay after all of this revitalization and takes
gentrification
place.
Is a double-edged sword.
We saw at Davis Square.
Right.
I mean,
gentrification, Tim, can get rid of blighted areas within a city. It can renew and revitalize and be an economic engine, but it can also hurt those long-time employees who will be priced out.
Yeah.
So the balancing act is where the city and the state really have to get their act together.
What the developers have to, I think, you know, pony up.
Sure.
Some.
Sure, and that's a balancing act too. I'm not going to take the side of, you know, government in this. It's not my role here. But I'm going to say government has a balancing act to do. They don't want to price it so badly with the mitigation that they scare developers away. But neither do they want to give it away. They don't want to give the shop away. So there's a balance there.
There is a balance, but, you know, I've been involved in a lot of mitigation agreements with the Kendall Square area.
Right.
And, you know, the developers are doing okay. I can assure you.
Developers always do okay.
We see the results that are happening in Kendall Square. So
I've always said, remember, developers are a for-profit organization, period. So don't ever be afraid to ask them for
Absolutely
anything.
not.
All right, you never get anything without asking.
Right.
But let me go to one point. You had brought up affordable housing and trying to keep Somerville affordable while it's going through its renaissance. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're not struggling with, but one of the things that's going to be on Somerville's ballot on November 6th is question 4, adoption of the Community Preservation Act. Now, Cambridge has had the Community Preservation Act for how many years?
We were one of the first communities to adopt it when it first came out.
Almost 12 years ago.
Yeah, and we have actually reaped, you know, probably $100 million worth of investments from that. The pool of money is shrinking because more and more communities are participating.
The pie gets smaller.
Gets smaller.
Right.
But certainly, Cambridge, we have a formula. It's 80% affordable housing, 10% for open space, and 10% for historical preservation. So it's a great opportunity for the state to match what the city is providing. I am a strong supporter of question 4, and I hope that it does pass, and that I believe they think the average increase for tax bill would be about $35 to $40 per resident.
Yeah, it's broken out to resident dependent. So it's single family, 2-family, 3-family, condo, and then industrial business land. I mean, that's all broken out. But for the average single family homeowner, your tax bill overall will go up no more than, I think it was $26 or $25 for a single. And then it goes up slightly more from there. But, you know, the way that
the money that's raised, the revenue, I mean, it goes to a lot of great projects, you know. So I think it will be up to the city to decide what that formula, the percentage of that formula would be.
So each community adopts its own formula,
I believe,
of how they distribute those funds, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's another key thing. The reason I wanted to bring it up, Tim, is because you've represented Cambridge for a while. You know what benefit CPA can do for a community. And I guess, you know, from my old, and some of my friends who watch the show are going to laugh, my old banker's hat says, never leave money on the table if you can get it. Mm-hmm. So this pool of money that sits in the state from the fees and we've never taken advantage of that. So we've never been able to.
I believe it's the first time it's been on the ballot here.
Well, there was a push before according to some of our state rep, Denise Provo, she had tried to push that before, but because the funds were limited in the way that you could use them, allocate them, there wasn't really an appetite here in the city. So it's been freed up by legislation that passed, I guess, a couple of years ago or last year. Mm-hmm. So they're able to use some of those funds for parks maintenance, parks enhancement, acquisition, and then the affordable housing component and the historic preservation component. So I just wanted to, see if you could give your constituents the flavor of what's happened in Cambridge when you adopted it. So,
I think when we first adopted it, the voters overwhelmingly passed it, and as I said, the majority of the money that we have allocated has gone to affordable housing. So there's been a lot of housing that has been built for affordable housing. And one of the things we're looking at now is how do we extend that to working class families, the middle class, because what we're facing in Cambridge right now is a shrinking middle class. So
right.
Where is the program to help those families to stay in the city also? So
yep.
We're looking at how to reallocate some of that for the
sure.
middle class.
So from your perspective, first couple of things that we've touched for the Union Square district, and this district you're representing, we fully expect to have some groundbreaking news for the Green Line by the end of the year?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
There will be construction beginning by the end of the year.
Yeah, great. And then Union Square, I don't know if you're getting a lot of calls, but from your constituency in the Union Square, the mayor has gone through a massive rezoning change down here. And it is going to require some eminent domain proceedings, but it's all part of that master plan in anticipation of the Green Line coming in.
Right.
What's any constituent reaction at this point?
Not as much as I thought it would be. The zoning issues, I always feel that's best decided by the
municipality.
Yeah. And so I know there's Mary Ann Houston's been very involved, having several public meetings on that with the businesses and the residents, and I believe it passed the Board of Aldermen by 3 maybe negative votes. So
one.
It was one final.
Just one in the final.
Okay, in the final, yeah. So, but with that revitalization of Union Square, if I can just touch briefly on the grounding of McCarthy overpass, that's been a big issue here, and I know a lot of people want us to see it torn down right now.
Right.
And I think everybody knows.
Let me just frame it for the audience at home. That butt-ugly, pigeon-strewn overpass that cuts through the middle of East Somerville, there's a movement now to take that down and put it as a surface road.
It's right down the street. Right. So, and there is a grounding McGrath committee that's been formed. They've been studying for the past, I believe, year and a half, and they are doing temporary repairs now. And a lot of people are upset that, why don't we just take it down and be done with it? Well, we really couldn't just take it down because there is no environmental impact study. There's been no traffic analysis. How are the residents right around here, Washington Street, Mansfield, Merriman, how would they be affected by all of a sudden there's no overpass, or all those cars going to have to be congested on the local streets coming into Union Square? So we are doing a proper planning process now. That bridge was owned by the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which they were lucky they could operate the parks, never mind operating a highway. So DCR, DOT, now has
Department of Transportation
has that. Yep. And as soon as they got that, we were in contact with them to look at, taking that down, and so now working, I think with the residents and the local officials and the mayor, what kind of a vision you want to see for that, because that area is just right for economic development. The current construction now serves nobody. Pedestrians, cyclists, motorists. I mean, it's just, as you said, pedestrians, people are waiting for the bus under there. You get bird droppings, you get chunks of things falling down. So the state is spending about $10 million for emergency repairs to do that. And we'll hopefully plan over the next couple of years how we're going to replace that. But I think everybody agrees it has to be grounded. But the thing is, what is going to be in its place and how it's best going to serve the residents of that area.
One of the long-term visions, too, because I was present at that meeting that you gave a presentation along with the mayor and Senator Jalen, one of the first meetings to take it down. And I should mention that Livable Streets was a guest here on this show that when they were talking about it, that Livable Streets organization is
they've got it dead on,
Yep.
is that if you're trying to accomplish a lot of these multi-things at one time, you can't leave that thing standing. Yes, you have to put emergency repairs into it and funding into it, but if your vision for the city of Somerville, your district in the east, if you want to re-knit Inner Belt, Washington Street, Union Square, tied into Inman, you've got to get rid of that eyesore.
There's no question.
Because it's a barrier.
But before you take it down, you have to have a master design
Right,
plan,
right.
how this is all going to fit.
Right.
You know, there's talk now of a stadium going into the inner belt. How would, you know, what are going to be the traffic impacts of that? How do we design so that all that fits in together? And I think that's the most important. You know, 'cause it's an economic benefit to the city to have that area to be developed. There's a lot of vacant land over there.
This is the hut set. They don't call it the hut set for nothing. That's part of your district. What would you feel about the proposal of a stadium going in?
I would have concerns about it. You know, I think that, you know, would it be just a stadium for, I believe it was a soccer stadium? Would they
Revolution,
have,
yeah.
Would it have concerts and other venues there? And I think before you do, I mean, you really have to meet with the residents and see just, you know, what the impact.
What's your traffic mitigation, what's your noise mitigation, all those things have to come first before anybody says yes. Yeah.
So,
I did hear
cautiously. I think that's the most important.
I did hear that he was over at, what's the dog track over in Revere, Wonderland?
Wonderland.
He was looking at Wonderland.
They're looking at that as part of the, if Suffolk Downs gets the license for a casino, that would be part of that.
Right.
So that's something to see. That's another big issue. That's, you know, probably the casinos. You know, hopefully at some point something will be built, but.
Who knows?
Yeah.
As you know, we were joking before the show. Co-host Cayenne Anderson, who had previous commitments, was in here, and we were talking about the Green Line. And I said, "Yeah, I'll be living at the V&A on Lowell Street by the time it gets to Lowell Street." So, I won't put you on the hot set with that, but I make it very clear to the mayor that I'm not happy about this thing being broken up in phases, because there's always the risk that the rest of the city may not see that for a very, very long time. So. My debate with Joe Curtatone, not yours,
No,
Tim.
the mayor's been right up front and, you know, been very forceful with the state to obtain that memorandum of understanding. I don't think that's in place in any other community in the state. So
Yeah.
the mayor's been, you know, and the entire Somerville delegation working together to make sure that this becomes reality. And I feel very confident that, in fact, that will happen.
One more thing on the district that you represent, East Somerville. East Somerville Main Streets Organization has been going gangbusters this year.
The food crawl was an outstanding event.
I didn't think you would miss that food crawl, Tim.
We all have to eat, Joe. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
But no, they've been doing a great job. And,
Yeah.
that was, you know, brings people into that neighborhood to experience the different restaurants that are there, and, you know, boosts. Again, it's an economic development thing for the city. You know,
Yeah.
bring people into the city might not necessarily come in and eat shop at those local restaurants.
You know, old-timers like me have always referred to anything that's east of McGrath Highway as Lower Broadway.
Okay.
I was corrected by the Main Streets organization. They were on the show talking about the foodie crawl, and I was corrected. You don't refer to it as Lower Broadway anymore. It's East Broadway. East Broadway, Main Street. Wow, did I think I was on the hot set myself here? But yeah, I mean, lots of rezoning, lots of I shouldn't use the word gentrification, but there's a lot of churn.
Potential.
A lot of churn of restaurants coming in and out. We're gonna.
There's no vacant storefronts. There's, I think, 2 that have signs saying that restaurants opening soon.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think East, was it the West End or something? I forget what restaurant.
Well, one of the famous chefs is coming in. He bought the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Corey's was, I believe. Is
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
That's.
And then, what did I see today? Today or yesterday? Oh, the old Kentucky Fried Chicken, or the taco place. That's undergoing renovation. It looks like something's coming in there, too. So, yeah, I mean, a great part of the city, and it's a gateway to the city. People coming out of that end of Boston travel right up Broadway, so that's their first impression of what Somerville is about. You know, so.
And the city's done a great job in beautifying that whole, the median strip there. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a lot of plants there, and
They have a sign that says "Welcome to East Somerville" on one side and "Welcome to Winter Hill" on the other side. The mayor knows why I'm busting him about this.
Oh.
Did you know that Magoon Square is the only business district in the city that doesn't have a sign?
Sign.
Did you know that, Tim?
Well, if it was in my district, it would have a sign.
There you go, Joe. What else is happening on the Hill? What do you got coming up?
Well, I think, clearly whatever's going to happen 2 weeks from tonight on the national level is going to dictate a lot what's going to happen on the local and state.
Yep.
It's what type of vision that people are going to have, how government they feel should be responding to local and state concerns. So that's going to be a big thing, how that election comes out in 2 weeks. And, the state is still in tough economic times. I remember, 10 years ago, we had a $3 billion free cash surplus money in the rainy day account, and that is long gone.
Right.
So we've had to make some tough decisions in terms of programs that had to be cut, and there's nothing worse than cutting programs that serve people and their needs. So to me, the big thing is in maintaining the fiscal stability of the state as much as we can. And to that end, I hope that 2 weeks from tonight that we have a
So you got that Romney-Ryan sign on the front lawn of the Toomey household there?
I don't think so, Jim.
No, that's not. Lifelong Democrat, Tim Toomey.
The only Democrat in my race, too.
There you go.
Proud
There you
of
go.
it.
Any last words? We're running up on the closing time, but if you want to make a pitch directly to the constituents here in East Somerville, be my guest.
East Somerville and Union Square.
And Union Square.
I appreciate the opportunity to represent those residents, and I hope that you will consider voting for me once again, as you have for the past 20 years to represent you, and I hope that I have fulfilled your expectations, and I know when I do, the people let me know when they feel that I might be off track on something, and which is great. So I appreciate the frankness and the commitment of the residents of Somerville, and I love my 2 jobs, and I hope I can continue in that. So thank you.
And your district office address is right
50
over.
Cambridge Street, but
Yep.
do you think people see me at a lot of community events, and they come up to me and talk to me and voice their concerns. So people aren't shy, and that's great. So they let me know where they stand on things.
There you go.
And when,
Let me see. Governor. Who's going to run for governor?
well, I think Steve Grossman, probably Susanna Bump,
Yeah.
probably will be candidates.
Martha Coakley?
I've heard rumors of that. Would our own congressman or mayor consider running?
Charlie Baker?
I don't know if he would do it again.
No?
Yeah, I think that one time that might have been it for him. And I don't see really any strong Republican on the horizon to do it.
He and Steve Grossman were on Brody the other night, going head to head. We've come to the end of our show.
Oh.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank State Representative Tim Toomey for joining me. Don't forget to vote on November 6th. We may or may not see you next week. Thanks for watching Greater Somerville. Good night. I can say it based on the dozen or so